When it comes to trade, the focus is on Beijing, where officials from the U.S. and China are trying to hammer out their differences to avoid an escalation of the tensions between the world's two largest economies. Eunice Yoon has been covering the story for us all along, and she's back tonight with more.
Today was a key day for the trade talks. All the major players, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, and China's Vice Premier Liu He, were meeting for their first day of 2 days of discussions. Expectations are growing that the two sides are trying to hammer out the framework of an agreement that would act as a basis for a potential summit between President Trump and President Xi later, possibly as early as next month. There's a feeling that the final decisions would be made by the two leaders if they do meet. From what we know, a lot is on the table, but the negotiators are still far apart on how to address stickier structural issues and enforce a deal once it's worked out. But the two sides might get some more time. Bloomberg is citing sources as saying that President Trump is considering a 60-day extension to the March 1st deadline. Separately, we got trade data out of China that gives us a good look into the impact of the tariffs on the trade relationship between the U.S. and China. And it's not necessarily what you might think. Chinese exports to the U.S. in January were down, but up overall by more than 9%. Greater shipments to Japan, Europe, as well as Southeast Asia. What was even more interesting is how sharply imports to the U.S. fell by 41.2%. That raises questions as to who is and who is not being affected by the tariffs. It's only 1 month's data, but the data shows that American exporters are getting hurt more severely than Chinese ones. It also lends to the argument that you often hear in China, within the business community here, that even though the U.S. is an important market for China, it has limited influence because China can just export to the rest of the world. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Eunice Yoon in Beijing.